Right, should we do some Chelsea news? Let's do some Chelsea news, because the quest to find a number 9 is now really hotting up, with 5 to 6 options possibly being explored, and explore those options we will in today's video. But first, Esteval Willian. I think I have just pronounced that one right for the first time. He has officially now become a Chelsea player. However, this one is a little bit anticlimactic, really, isn't it? And I'll tell you why. Because I was hoping that Esteval Willian could potentially be linking up with Chelsea this coming season. But actually, what we are now reading is that he will not be linking up with Chelsea until after the Club World Cup finishes in July 2025, which means we will go this entire season without Esteval Willian, and then he will come in time for next season. But despite us having to wait around a year to potentially see this kid ripping it up at Stamford Bridge, many within the industry have absolutely no doubt that ripping it up on the big stage at Stamford Bridge is exactly what Esteval Willian will do. Both Rodrigo and Vinicius left Brazil at around a similar age to Esteval Willian as he is right now. Obviously, he's staying there another season. And to continue his progression would probably be a good thing. I mean, you look at the regard that this kid is held in, right? And it does sort of make you have question marks around the likes of Angelo, Moreira, Hutchinson, which is, you know, will they even play for Chelsea Football Club? This kid will definitely play for Chelsea Football Club, because in a deal that is potentially going to rise up to £56 million, the ownership are pretty much banking on one of two things happening in this situation. The first of which is Esteval Willian comes into Chelsea Football Club and completely takes Chelsea Football Club by storm. He helps us build back into a European powerhouse that is competing for major silverware, major European silverware. Or the second thing is he ends up being worth, what, 2-3 times what we're signing him for, and within a couple of seasons we shift him out to Real Madrid or someone like that, make a hefty profit, and then reinvest it and go again. Now, just to put it on the record, that is not what I want, but I'm just being realistic in terms of where I see this ownership and what sort of moves I see them making. And as I say, when you see players such as Esteval Willian and Kendry Páez, it really makes you wonder what the future holds for the likes of Angelo, Moreira, Hutchinson, even Mykhailo Mudryk. See, Mudryk's a tricky one to navigate, really, isn't it? Because in all honesty, we need to see at least double the amount of goals and assists from Mykhailo Mudryk next season if I'm even to start to believe that he is living up to his potential as a Chelsea player at Stamford Bridge. And do you know what, right? I do think that Mykhailo Mudryk should be looking at next season, and realistically, he should be confident that he can prove a lot more important to the team. We're going to have more games, and also, not only that, European football. Mykhailo Mudryk needs to be looking at that Europa Conference League and absolutely dribbling. Dribbling, I mean, because he's, you know, confident he can score goals. Not dribbling on the football pitch, although that would be nice too. Now, look, when we had seen him in European competition before we signed him, I believe we were so impressed that that was one of the main reasons why we beat Arsenal to his signatures. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I watched a lot of Shakhtar, because I didn't. But what I did do is I watched Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League. I watched Mykhailo Mudryk. Obviously, there was the match that he played against Real Madrid, and I was very impressed by him. So, potentially, we could be using this competition next season as a last chance, maybe, to try and squeeze a bit of juice out of Mykhailo Mudryk and ultimately get him to fulfill the reason why we laid the money down and why we beat Arsenal to his signature. Anyway, this isn't a chat about Mykhailo Mudryk. This is a chat about Esteval Willian, a.k.a. Messinho. Now, being compared to Lionel Messi is definitely a compliment, isn't it? And this isn't going to be the first player that was actually dubbed as the next Lionel Messi, as I actually myself can remember quite a few of these. Do you remember Marco Marin? Marco Marin, who came in and played a little stint at Chelsea. He was actually dubbed, the German Messi. Now, I'm not really too sure, to be honest. Mark Omerin was 23 years old when he signed for Chelsea Football Club. And let's be honest, he never really got going. He wasn't great, was he? But 80-odd games for Werder Bremen before he came to Chelsea, that wasn't enough to convince me that this kid was the German Messi. And therefore, I never really got that excited about Mark Omerin. But he was definitely one that was dubbed as the next Messi. He's actually playing Hungarian Premier League football now, so I've heard, or he might even be retired. Giovanni Dos Santos, he was dubbed the Mexican Messi, and the comparison's a relatively easy one to make here on the fact that he actually played for the Barcelona Academy. He obviously moved to Spurs. He did look a real talent at times, to be fair. Giovanni Dos Santos was a player that I was, you know, fairly excited to see when he would run out in the Premier League, but to be honest, he wasn't really the next Messi, was he? There is only one Messi. None of these guys were the next Messi. Gerard Deulofeu, he was a good player, wasn't he? He was a player that I was impressed by, but I think to compare him to Messi is still a massive, massive stretch. So what I'm saying here is when we're looking at the likes of the next Messi, I don't think that purely, you know, coming through the Barcelona Academy is enough for me to say that you're the next Lionel Messi. So I suppose what I'm saying here is, although coming through the Barcelona Academy is a good indication that you are going to go on to be a good player, it is by no means a certainty, is it? Which moves us on to our next story of the day, and that is that Chelsea are in for Barcelona teenager Marc Guiu. I believe it is pronounced. I've had a few people giving me a bit of stick in the comment section about my pronunciation, so I'm trying to get it right. I think it's Marc Guiu. Listen, first of all, this kid looks quite good, doesn't he? There's no denying that. 2 goals for Barcelona last season. I think that was just in 7 appearances. I believe that he only got 2 starts last season. And once again, right, I understand I'm basing my opinion on this fella off of YouTube highlights, more or less. But that is what we're all doing, okay? So we're all in the same boat here. So don't have a go at me, because no one is sat here having watched Barcelona under 21s last season. I don't think you did. Anyway, I think that if you did watch Marc Guiu last season, the main source of watching him would have been those couple of cameo appearances he had for Barcelona. He did come off the bench, actually, and score a late winner against, was it Atletico Bilbao? It was someone like that. Ultimately, he scored a few less goals last season than John Duran. However, he didn't have anywhere near the amount of minutes given to him in the first team as John Duran had. So then we had to, obviously, or we have to look at that, because the key thing here for me with this whole race for a new Chelsea striker is who is going to be playing backup next season to Nicholas Jackson, because that is very much what I see this as, unless we were to go out and get a big star-studded name. But we already know that Nicholas Jackson's out for at least pre-season with quite a bad ankle sprain. He could be out longer than pre-season. And the fact we're going to have, what, an extra 15-odd games if we go deep into the Europa Conference League would suggest to me that we do need to get another striker in there. Another striker, I'm saying. Another number 9. Not Christopher Nkunku playing in number 9, not Cole Palmer as a false 9. I believe we need another player in there who is used to playing there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you my preferred order out of the, I want to say available, but I think I'm saying realistic options, okay? So starting off, John Duran, he is probably top, because despite the lack of actual Premier League experience that he's got, you can tell this boy is ready to at least push for a starting berth in the Premier League. And between John Duran and Nicholas Jackson, I actually feel quite safe. I feel that we would be somewhat covered next season when we understand that the option of us going in for a star-studded name like an Osimhen or someone like that is definitely off the table at this point. And I'll tell you one man who scored more goals last season than Osimhen, and that is Stuttgart's Guirassy. And he would be my second option, because he is a striker ready for the here and now. And because of his £15 million release clause, he could definitely be bought in on the cheap. But before we get into all that, Mr. Aveste, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
What's your favourite movie?
Right now, I would say The Matrix. Have you ever seen it?
Do you know what? I've never seen it.
What?
Is it good?
It's absolutely brilliant. One of the best films of all time. Keanu Reeves, he is brilliant in it.
Fair play. Right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Go on.
When I get home, I'm going to watch it.
I don't think you can.
I can. I've got a Netflix account.
It's not on UK Netflix.
It's... How do you watch it then?
Well, that's the secret, isn't it, Joe?
What is the secret?
I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Should I tell them?
Yeah, go on.
Private internet access. But what is private internet access? Private internet access is a VPN. What is a VPN? That is a virtual private network. But now you might be asking me, why do you need a VPN? A VPN is an app that hides your IP address and allows you to access the internet as if you were accessing it from a different location. And the VPN that we use is always private internet access. They are the world's most transparent VPN provider with over 30 million downloads, and they never record or store your data. Private internet access is available on all platforms and all devices. I have obviously said about the fact that we watch it for Netflix when we're wanting to watch shows that aren't available in the region that we're currently in the world at that time. But also, if, like me, you are living inside the UK, then you probably know that the 3 o'clock kickoffs for the Premier League football have got a ban. There is a blackout, meaning you are not allowed to watch it if you are living inside the UK. But with a VPN, all of that can change. You can take yourself to somewhere else in the world. Let's say Barbados, for example. You can sit on that virtual beach and watch the 3 o'clock kickoffs. But one of my personal favourite features of using this app is the ability it gives me to browse the internet safely, knowing that my details and data are not going to be stored. So if you want to join me in surfing the internet safely, here's what you need to do. You hit the link in the description. That will take you to my offer. My offer will give you 83% discount on private internet access. That means it's basically costing you around $2 per month. And not only that, you get 4 months for free when you sign up using my link. It is completely risk-free because there is a 30-day money-back guarantee if you do not like the service. So support the guys who support the channel and in turn support me by signing up to private internet access. 28 goals in 28 games for Stuttgart last season with a couple of assists also would definitely give us some much needed experience up top. And the good thing about Guirassy is, in an ideal world, right, he comes in, he helps us, his goals help us secure a higher finish in the league, which in turn then gives us more TV revenue, more, you know, just more revenue in general when it comes to finishing higher up in those league spots, and also puts us in a position where, let's say, for example, in 2 windows' time, 2 summers' time, I should say, when Guirassy is nearing 30 years old, we are then in a position where we do have Champions League football to offer potential signings coming in and therefore could attract a big name striker, maybe an Osimhen, maybe someone like that. So I think that at 15 million, he represents really, really good value in today's market. And then finally, the third option, the Barcelona lad, Guiu, who looks a real talent, big, physical, strong, direct, but as I say, you know, we've only really seen highlights of him. We've only seen academy football of him. Some players look brilliant in the academy and they can't then replicate or translate that form into first team football. And the other thing is this, right? If we were to sign Guiu, you would imagine in an ideal world, if we weren't in a bit of a striker shortage, you would imagine that we'd probably send him out on loan anyway. And then you're looking at it and we're saying, well, okay, if we're going to send this guy out on loan, is he any better than a David Datro Fofana, you know? Is he any better than a Washington? Someone like that? We don't know, ultimately. And I get that you would probably be sat here right now saying, well, Joey, none of these kids like Kellyman, Guiu, and others are being signed as players to actually play for Chelsea Football Club, like we were saying about the likes of Moreira, Angelo, Omari Hutchinson. I know he's had a few games, but what I'm saying is a lot of these are just tactical signings that we're going to bring someone in, flip, make a profit on them, hopefully, and you're probably right. But at the moment, with no actual backup striker to Nicholas Jackson, unless we are potentially thinking about David Datro Fofana coming back in and him not being shipped out on loan next season, I do think that we have somewhat of a shortage there. And I do think then for that reason that you might see one of these guys getting minutes next season. And not to wish it upon anyone, but especially when you look at our injury record. So there are the options, really. Not really forgetting anyone, am I? I don't think. Jonathan David. You thought that I had forgot about Jonathan David there, but I haven't forgot about him because obviously the news is breaking today that we are also in for Jonathan David. Surely we're not in for all of these boys. Surely we're just going to be looking at getting one, maybe two of them, depending on price tag. Jonathan David, when I'm looking at him, you know, he possibly could make for better reading than all of the above. Because he's a proven goal scorer who has consistently scored goals in Belgium and in France, respectively, for the best part of, 6 years or something now. 24 goal involvements in 34 games last season for Lille. And at 24 years old, he would give us, you know, a bit more experience than we've got, especially along that front line. I would actually put him closer in the mould to a player like a Guirassy than I would definitely a player like you, who obviously hasn't really had any first team football. I think that he is not sort of in the prospect category like you or like Duran. And the rumour is we can get him for about 30 million, which is cheaper than we've obviously paid for Nicholas Jackson. So I would definitely be interested in that deal, because it wouldn't surprise me at all anyway if we saw like David Datro for Fofana go and us bring Jonathan David in as a sort of make weight in this deal. So I could see it happening. He's a quick striker, gets in behind. But the other thing is, when I'm saying about bringing a guy in who is solely a number 9, I don't know. From what I'm looking at, or watching, I should say, of Jonathan David, is he solely a number 9? I've seen him play a second striker quite a few times, so I'm not too sure. But here is what I need you to do, right? The names I've just listed there, we've got Guirassy, we've got Duran, we've got you, and we've got Jonathan David. I want you guys to tell me who you think the best option out of those guys is. And also, could we sign more than one? Because let's say, for example, we sign you and he comes in and actually warms a bench for us or something like that. Or maybe we do a similar job that we did with David Washington with him and get him in and out the academy team. Is that what he's going to want when he's just scored goals for Barcelona last season, albeit not that many? I'm not sure. But if we got him in, we could definitely probably get a Jonathan David. We could probably get a Guirassy. But I think John Duran is the man we're going to go for. And I am quite excited to see John Duran next season in a Chelsea shirt. Last little bit of news of the day. Should we talk about Alfie Gilchrist? Let's talk about Alfie Gilchrist, because we'll finish on him, because word has it that he is going to be going out on loan next season. Now, myself and Josh spoke about the importance of Alfie Gilchrist going out on loan next season. I've always thought that it would be a sensible option to send him out on loan, to get him more game time. At the moment, I don't even know what his position is, because he played right back for us, but obviously in the academy teams, he played as a centre-back. One man who will go a long way to finding out Alfie Gilchrist's position, is former club legend. Is legend a bit strong? He was a very fucking good player for us, Cesc Fabregas, because we are reading that Gilchrist will be joining his side, Como, in Serie A on a season-long loan. So he should get some more minutes there than he was afforded at Chelsea this season, albeit for a debut season, he did get off the bench quite a few times. Listen, I've always felt in the limited amount of punditry and media work that I've seen of Cesc Fabregas that he'd make a brilliant manager. I've always thought that. And now he is cutting his chops and he is making a good manager and he is doing a good job. So excited to see how he gets on in Serie A next season. Excited to see how Alfie Gilchrist gets on playing for him next season. And obviously, Alfie Gilchrist is a Cobham boy. He bleeds blue, and I very much wish him all the best. People, let me know in the comments section below, what do you think of these transfer rumours? Who would you go for? Does the Jonathan David transfer rumour excite you? I know it does me a little bit. Or would you go with John Duran, or would you go with someone else? Is there anyone I hasn't mentioned that you would go with? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you all in the next one.